In the previous episode of The Last Tape, in a tense, dimly lit room, Megan and her team work urgently to track those who downloaded the cursed video, fearing the spread of its deadly influence. Minji proposes a bold plan, a device to connect with the cursed realm. As Megan tests it, she slips into a trance, crossing into the dark world with no guarantee of return. Her team watches helplessly, knowing they're venturing into unknown and dangerous territory. Megan's body convulsed violently as the machine hummed around her, the energy surging too intensely. Her arms flailed, her breathing erratic, as though something unseen was trying to tear her apart from the inside. Jinsu and Minji watched in horror, unsure of what was happening to her. The connection between worlds was unstable and dangerous. In a panic, Jinsu rushed to the control panel, slamming his hand down to power off the machine. The hum ceased, and Megan collapsed into a heap, gasping for air. Drenched in sweat and trembling, Megan sat up, her eyes wild with urgency. "They're alive," she gasped, her voice shaky. "Both Diego and Takeshi, but they're in terrible danger. The dark force has sensed them. We need to act now." Her voice grew more desperate. She knew time was slipping away, the dark entity drawing closer to its prey. Frustration and exhaustion clouded her, but her resolve remained unbroken. To save Diego and Takeshi, she explained, they needed something personal, an object of deep connection to both of them. Only through these could she form a stronger link to the cursed realm and bring them back. They had to travel to their locations, gather these items, and act fast before the dark force consumed them completely. Minji, always the resourceful one, managed to track down Takeshi's family. After explaining the situation, they agreed to send one of his most treasured belongings, a Rubik's Cube he had carried since childhood. The cube was en route, but there was no time to lose. The team booked the next flight to São Paulo. In a rundown neighborhood, Diego's small house stood with faded walls and broken windows, a relic of a life now in danger. Inside, they were greeted by Diego's mother, her eyes red from sleepless nights and endless worry. She explained how Diego had vanished, leaving behind no trace but a sense of dread that still clung to the air. His room had a strange, damp scent, an inexplicable wetness that seemed out of place. There, they found what they needed. Diego's diary, filled with thoughts and sketches, was the only thing that felt truly personal. They flew back to Seoul to start working on the real mission again. Back in Seoul, the team regrouped. A knock on the door signaled the arrival of Takeshi's parcel. Inside was the Rubik's Cube, worn and faded from years of use. Now, they had what they needed. 2 items, one from each boy, to help bridge the gap between worlds. Minji activated the machine once more. The low hum returned as Megan gripped the objects tightly, one in each hand. Her mind was pulled deep into the dark world, her surroundings fading away as she crossed the threshold into the dark, oppressive landscape of the entity's realm. The dark world was a place of twisted corridors and endless shadows. Megan found herself in a vast, dimly lit room, the air thick with tension. There, in a corner, she saw Diego, huddled, trembling, tears streaming down his face. Megan knelt beside him, whispering words of comfort, though her voice was laced with urgency. "Stay quiet," she thought, silently pleading. They had no time to waste. The entity was near, its whispers growing louder, its cold touch ever present. Megan led Diego through the winding corridors of the cursed realm, each step bringing them closer to Takeshi. The atmosphere grew heavier with every moment. At last, they reached Takeshi, a young man on the edge of madness, his eyes wide with terror. He sat, rocking back and forth, crying out in confusion. The dark force had left him broken, and his fear had consumed him. Megan and Diego tried desperately to calm him, but his panic only grew. Takeshi's cries echoed through the hall, bouncing off the walls like a beacon in the night. The entity had heard him. A cold gust of wind swept through the room, and Megan's heart sank. The darkness shifted, coalescing into something more. The entity had arrived. Megan's mind raced. She had faced this force once before, and she knew what it was capable of. Turning to Diego and Takeshi, she gestured frantically, urging them to flee. "Go," she thought with fierce determination, knowing they had only seconds before it was too late. For the second time, Megan stood face to face with the entity. Panic gripped her heart as the oppressive energy bore down on her, the air crackling with its power. In the next episode of The Last Tape, in the cursed realm, Megan faced the looming dark entity when a distant voice shattered the tension, causing it to vanish. She found 3 strangers, Anna, Elizabeth, and David. As the realm drained her energy, she urged them to stay together and wait for her return before collapsing. Back in the real world, her unconscious form lay pale and fragile, surrounded by Jinsu, Minji, and Hyunwoo, who knew they were running out of time. What will happen next? Subscribe to our channel for updates.